breakfast show tune. Guys, good morning to you. This is your breakfast show, and I just want to say thank you so much for joining us, as today is a Thursday and we look at the subject of mental health. All right, and without further ado, let me just call on the power of our guest. This lady is a big advocate in serving and helping her community. She was with us last week speaking about her journey. This is a lady, she's seen some stuff when it comes to mental health. You know when when you got like a Marine who literally can sit down and tell you stuff that they've gone through, and you feel like you was there. Yeah, this is how she is regarding mental health, because she works very intrinsically with the community, and it's the one and only, the power lady herself, Nathesha Ashbourne. Good morning, Nathesha. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah.
Breakfast show. Good morning, listeners.
How you doing, super lady?
Wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm doing good.
Fantastic. And how are your mental health levels on this morning?
Yeah, I'm good. I had a nice walk yesterday.
Lovely.
Really nice walk yesterday, and took in the view and took some pictures.
Lovely.
So I'm still kind of soaking up that moment.
Oh yes, this is, and I think this can be an appropriate greeting for all of us. Like I'll be like, so Hugo, how are your mental health levels today?
The best ever.
The best ever. So you're like a 9, 10?
Yeah,
that's
nine.
it. Yeah,
10
9
is for something special.
That's heaven. That's heaven. Yeah. So okay, I think that's how we can greet. Salutations. How are your mental health levels today? and then we could just be like, I'm a 4. Here you go. Listen to this music track. Or like you're like a 9. Then you watch the news. You go into the watch the news. You come back. I'm a 2. It's like. Before the news, I'm a 9. After the news, I'm a 2. We need to work on that. But anyway, good to have you with us today, super lady.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And yes, last week was a very hot topic. We've been talking about protecting our mental health during the pandemic, right? So obviously we've got listeners from Namibia, Africa, Sweden, Taiwan, all these other places. We've got those hawker stalkers who are just listening in like, I don't want to say hello to you, Robert. I don't want to say hello to you. I'm just going to listen in and see what you guys are doing in your garden. Which I love you. I love you, hawker stalkers. I love you. But I'd love you to say, also come in and say top in the morning, I love you just that little bit more.
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, so we speak about protecting our mental health, and it was so compelling. Everybody heard your story. I saw people sharing your story as well, and it was really, really lovely. So today, what we're going to be looking at today to help to protect our mental health?
Today we're going to focus a little bit on resilience.
Resilience.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the sound of that. Oh my gosh, we love the sound of that. Say aye, guys. Ooh, good gosh, resilience. Okay, gotcha. I get it. I get why you're coming up with this, because obviously right now I saw an article that people have secretly been having eating disorders due to the stress of the lockdown.
Yeah.
In the pandemic. Obsessive compulsive disorders have been people who have this kind of thing is kind of increased as well. Panic disorders, you even touched on it last week.
Yeah.
General anxiety. So there's quite a few things. We're not even going into depression yet. We're talking about those other things that, you know what I mean, that are happening and that are occurring and being triggered, right?
Exactly, and this is why it's important, for us to really look at this subject, but kind of now this aspect of mental health. And going back into lockdown being lifted up, and potentially, and we don't really know if things are still unstable, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting, because imagine this, guys. Imagine this. Here's one for you. Like, everyone's like gearing up, like the sun's starting to come out, the time has gone backwards. We're seeing some blooms of trees, and it's like things are gonna ease out. Like here in London, anyway. I don't know everywhere else where you are in the world, but it's like and you could feel a sense of everyone's like, oh great, normality's coming back for us. Normality's coming back. Yes. It's like a Terminator movie, after the cyborg cyborgs have like pretty much eradicated all the humans, and the surface is like all crust and ashes, and like the human race did something, and it started to come out of the tunnel, like the tube tunnels, and be like, it's like we can live again, you know. But then imagine if it's like lockdown. It's sorry, we have to go back into a lockdown. What would that do for people's mental health?
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, there's a lot to juggle.
How do we? Does that mean? Yeah. How do we bounce back? Keyword.
So, what is resilience about then? Tell us about it. How does it work?
Resilience. Resilience is really, adapting that inner strength and the ability to really bounce back, really, from setbacks and challenges and things like, obviously in lockdown, there's people have experienced a variety of things, job loss, illnesses, and
so the ability to bounce back.
Yeah.
See, because because I see it as a word, but I never considered it to be a thing. And in terms of our mental health, I can see how this would work. I can see that this would work. Okay. All right. Tell us a bit more.
Yeah. So, just having that, being able to adapt to life and, the misfortunes and, those setbacks that are, not really, some are not in your control. And how do you navigate past that? Because life still goes on. So this is what resilience is all about. It's learning how to master that, and it's something that happens gradually, and it's individual, depending on personal. It's a personal journey.
Okay, so how can I develop my resilience?
So. I mean, there's a variety of different ways in which you can do that, but it's like, I want to give you some tips. This is what I want to do by the end of today, is to really give us sort of like at least sort of maybe about 6-7 tips. But it's not. Is the idea around resilience is not to kind of so much. It's not really so much dwelling on looking at the problem so much, because when you're fixed and you're focused on that, you find it difficult to move past it. And there's a lot of feelings that comes with when you're focusing on that problem. It's feeling quite maybe victimized and obviously overwhelmed by the circumstances as well. And and then it kind of turns into kind of an unhealthy. You're looking for ways to cope, but you're going to be looking at it through, an unhealthy way of doing that, and might lead into other things, which is spiraling into, maybe for some it might be an alcohol, or it might be substance abuse, some other kind of, we don't want those things. We want to look at, okay, how can we positively navigate and bounce back?
So basically, so what you're saying is something can happen, right? A situation can happen, and we focus on that situation, right? And in most cases, is it something that you can't control, or is it just some form of something that leaves a trauma?
Either or either. It can be. Generally, the fact that you can't, the fact that it's happened and you want to control it, and sometimes you cannot control it. You see, that is the problem right there, and it's learning actually to maybe some situations you have to accept that you cannot control it, and then move on past that. So it could be anything, directly. It can be, as I named a few before, about the job loss and the illness and trauma. But how are we moving past that?
Okay, so if we've got someone who's listening right now, and so basically they're in a situation where like let's take the pandemic, right? This is the thing. This is the thing right now. This is where people have had to be resilient. So guess what? The pandemic's happened. We've been fed all this information, right? We've been fed all this information of what we've got to do, like to get jabbed and, all these numbers and all this kind of stuff, right? And so, and I kind of get it. There are some things that, like, suppose if you've got a school bully, the bully's there, then when you leave school, you're home, you're in a different environment, right? and obviously work out how to do it. But when you got something like a pandemic, you can't go out. You need to do something. So you switch on the TV and you're just getting blasted with all this news. Then you go out for a walk in the park because you need air. But you're being told that, guess what? If you breathe in this air, something could happen to you. Then you're told you can't confide in your friends, right? So it's like, so what you're telling us is that we had to focus on that situation, right? We were prone to focus on that situation. Hence why everybody's having, people can be affected in their mental health if we're not wary. And obviously the fact is that it's a situation that we haven't been able to control, have we? That breeds this whole situation that you're speaking about. Yeah.
So the thing is, one of the key things with resilience is actually facing. It's not ignoring what's happened, putting it off or just, kind of sweeping it under the carpet, because you can't. There are things in life that's going to happen and you just can't do that. You have to face it head on. You've got to find a way to figure it out. And it is important. Part of resilience, a key part of the resilience is, looking for that support outside of yourself as well. So, accessing, people around you, family, friends, support systems, ask for help, because that is a key part of your learning your skills of how to be resilient. Okay, it's actually being active, reaching out. I need help with this.
Okay,
thing.
So actively reaching out. Yeah.
Ask for help. Yeah.
So what you're saying is, all right. So we have this whole situation with a pandemic, right?
Yeah.
If I'm gonna sell, some people, is like you said earlier, that it's a gradient, right? When it comes to mental health, it's a gradient. It's not like you are mentally healthy and you are unmentally healthy. There's a gradient to how it's affected, right? So what you're telling us today is that there's something that we have. Well, amongst all these things that are happening, maybe personal issues because we've been locked in the house with our partner for so long, and then we don't decide, I don't want you as my partner anymore. But it's not them. It's not them. It's the lockdown talking. It's the lockdown. It's not them. It's the lockdown. You really care about them still. It's just the lockdown kind of like, but anyway, we'll do that with another program for another day. The kids are like, more than usual, right? So what you're saying is we need to have a resilience in us against those negative attitudes. It's actually a thing. It's something that we can muster. And you're saying one of the ways to head towards that is to not to avoid the issue, not to avoid that relationship situation, not to try to avoid, COVID doesn't exist, I'm just going to stay under my blanket. No, it's a case of, okay, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. Right?
Yeah.
Face it. Acknowledge it. That's the mindset.
Yeah.
To acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Acknowledge it. Yeah. That's the key. That is the key. Because you may not be able to control it, but acknowledging it is the key for you to in your coping with it, coping with that challenge, that situation, and yeah.
So I mean, when people haven't applied resilience, I mean, what kind of things have you seen? What kind of things have you seen happen?
Well, a lack of that is kind of, I touched on it a moment ago, so just feeling really victimized by it, overwhelmed by it all, and then it's that kind of, I help hopelessness, to that situation, and I'm being kind of like in literally shock mode, so you're not really able to, your back's against the wall, I don't know what to do, I can't move forward, I don't know how to move forward. So it's like, somebody who hasn't got the resilience is that they haven't, just at that moment, they haven't got the tools yet of how to push past this. Okay.
Okay, so the person will kind of be like in their own bubble.
Their own bubble. I mean, they could be sharing that with the people who are closest to them, but the point is that they don't feel that they have what it takes at that moment in time.
My friend, that's a horrible feeling.
Yeah,
that's a really horrible feeling. Wow. Wow. Well, guys, look, listen, those of you who are tuning in right now, and obviously you're hearing about the subject of resilience. Okay, maybe there's something particular that you're going through, and you're wondering, how do I face this? How do I face this? How do I? What angle do I go to approach this situation? And you might want to ask Nathesha, a quick question on how to approach a certain situation. It might be in your workplace, it might be in your personal life, it might be in your relationship. If you're free to share with us today, because I'm sure there's someone else listening who, everybody's going through different things, but also some things that are could be quite similar. So definitely, please feel free to connect into us. Type in our live chat. What is it that you're going through that maybe that? How do I face it? How do I face it? How do I approach this kind of situation? Yeah, because sometimes we can say face it, but it's like, what does that look like? There's been a bereavement. How do I face? How can I face it? I keep using the example because relationship got tested during this time of COVID. How do I face that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So please feel free. It might be in your workplace, might be someone who's going through something in their workplace, or someone that definitely, as we're going to just go into a very quick timeout right now, put your questions there in our live chat. We'd love to hear from you, and then obviously we're going to be hearing from Nathesha on some steps in order to activate this resilience. All right, guys. So yeah, this is a thing. Hugo, that's a thing. It really is a thing. It's like martial arts, it's like kung fu, it's like tai chi. It's a thing. Resilience. We'll go work on it.
Yeah.
Nathesha, you're great, right?
You're great.
Oh, thanks. Shucks. All right, guys, we're going to go for a very quick timeout.